I want to talk about a different federal lawsuit. This one involves Ryan Walters, the superintendent of public instruction in Oklahoma. I made a video about this not that long ago, but there's a resolution now and there's an update to the story. So I got to remind you what I'm even talking about. Because Ryan Walters recently sued an atheist group, and it was the dumbest lawsuit you will ever see. And now a judge has weighed in on this. Basically, here's what this lawsuit is about. In 2018, the Freedom from Religion Foundation found out that there is a football team at a public high school in Oklahoma City, at the Putnam City High School. At Putnam City High School, their football team had a school team chaplain, and that chaplain was leading the team in prayer. And according to an article in a local newspaper at the time, the chaplain even said this, and I want to show you this. Here's what the chaplain said. If it's because their parents don't care, then we'll have somebody there who does care, the chaplain said. And if the Lord opens the door, we'll share the gospel with them. The chaplain is basically saying, if these kids want to convert, well, I'm going to be there to help them out. That's why I'm the chaplain of the football team. And so the Freedom from Religion Foundation said, look, it's not okay that a public school football team has a team chaplain. And it's definitely not okay when this chaplain is openly bragging about his real intentions here. Like, you can't have this at a public school. So what did the Freedom from Religion Foundation do? In 2018, they sent a letter to this school, to the superintendent, and they basically said, you could see at the bottom paragraph here, Putnam City Schools cannot allow a non-school adult access to the children in its charge, and it certainly cannot grant that access to a religious speaker seeking to proselytize students. And what did they do at the end? It was a simple request. They said, look, we ask that the district commence an immediate investigation into this complaint and take action to stop these adults from organizing, leading, or participating in prayers with student athletes at practices or games, and end your chaplaincy program. Let us know what you're doing about this. Now, if you're not familiar with the Freedom from Religion Foundation, what you just saw there, that letter, it's kind of typical. Sometimes they will get complaints from people who say, hey, my kid goes to a school district, or maybe my kid's on the football team, and this is a thing that's happening. Can you please do something about this? And sometimes, like in this case, there is an article in the press that spells out exactly what this person is complaining about because the chaplain's openly admitting it. And what FFRF does is they do not sue the schools because they want to avoid lawsuits. They send a letter saying, hey, school district, maybe you don't know this, but we know what you're doing, and it's not legal. Everything you're doing is not legal. So you look into this. If it turns out we are right and these allegations are accurate, you got to put a stop to it. And we want you to tell us that you have put a stop to this. And assuming you do that, we have no concerns. Like, we're not going to sue you. We're not going to take this up another level. Let us know what you decide. And by the way, if the school districts do not respond or do not do anything, it's a lot harder to file a lawsuit at that point. But again, you don't want to file a lawsuit. You just want to fix the damn problem. But guess what happened in this case? According to FFRF, after they sent that letter to the school, they announced later on, you could check this out, FFRF was assured by a lawyer for the district, that new procedures had been put into place and that the athletic staff has been instructed that the practice of allowing access to students and engaging in prayer before any game would cease immediately. Okay, so the school wrote back and said, yeah, we looked into it. Don't worry, it's not going to happen again. And FFRF is like, cool, that's all we asked for. Thanks for taking care of it. Bye. So that seems like a non-issue. I mean, if you haven't heard about it, why would you? There was a problem. FFRF said, hey, there's a problem. The school district took care of it. As far as I know, that's the end of the story. Let me share now one more story with you, because it turns out in 2024, FFRF wrote a warning letter to a different superintendent, this time the superintendent of the Atchlee public schools. And the concern this time was that there was a teacher, they were allowing teachers to read Bible verses at the beginning of their classes. And in at least one case, a teacher had a student read the Bible verses to the class. Like, there's nothing secular about that. It has nothing to do with the lesson plans. It's just straight up indoctrination. And according to the letter FFRF sent the district, we also know that you begin the day with mandatory student-led prayers over the loudspeakers during morning announcements. Like, you can do a moment of silence, but you can't have kids reciting prayers over the intercom, and that's what this school district was doing. It took place at the elementary school and the high school, and FFRF added in their letter that students can't skip these prayers because it's happening after the first period bell has already rung. So they sent a letter to that school district, and guess what? The school responded and said, the superintendent said, I have met with the building principals of those schools. I have made it clear that we want to make sure no student is coerced into doing any religious activity. So basically, the superintendent said, don't worry, I got it under control. Please don't sue us. And FFRF is like, all right, thanks for taking care of it. I guess we're good. That's pretty much it. So 2018, 2024, two things that were of concern that FFRF heard about. They sent letters, problem solved. That was it. FFRF did not file lawsuits. They just sent warning letters explaining what the law says and why the school district was doing something wrong. At no point did FFRF say kids could not pray on their own. They just said school-sponsored prayers are illegal. They told the district, nothing the Supreme Court has done in recent years negates any of this that we're saying. And both districts appeared to know they crossed the line because they told FFRF, we will put a stop to this. And then this past April, Ryan Walters was furious because, again, Ryan Walters is all about how can I make a culture war issue all about me. So he took those two incidents, which happened in 2018 and 2024, and got resolved very quickly. And he said, you guys, that has gone too far. I'm going to sue the Freedom from Religion Foundation. And this is the video he made at the time.
Today in Oklahoma, we're fighting back. I've got this lawsuit that I filed today against the Freedom from Religion Foundation. They're a group of radical atheists that continue to attack our students and teachers in the state of Oklahoma. Well, never again. These radical atheists can find somewhere else to go because we're not going to allow them to harass our students and teachers for freely expressing their religious beliefs. This lawsuit will continue to ensure that in Oklahoma, your rights will be protected. Our teachers and students can absolutely pray if that's what they choose to do. So freedom from religion, we will see you radical atheists in court.
Radical atheist. Every time someone says that, I always want to know who's not a radical atheist, like, because they just treat every atheist as a radical atheist. Anyway, the right way to respond to that video is, what the hell is he talking about? I don't know. Like, FFRF has never gone after anybody, teachers, students, for like freely expressing their religious beliefs. As he said, they've only gone after people like Walters who try to shove their Christianity down everybody's throats. But like, the lawsuit had to be about something, right? Like, if it wasn't just about retaliation or getting attention for himself, on what grounds was he suing FFRF? So according to the actual lawsuit he filed, he said those letters warning the school districts that they were violating the law were violating the law. Like, it was seriously his entire argument. He never explained why FFRF's complaints were invalid. He just said, my job is to protect individual religious freedom, and those warning letters stifled the ability for students and teachers to practice their faith. And then he said the courts had to step in to stop FFRF's threatening and harassing behavior. Like, that's seriously how stupid this was. And near the end of the lawsuit, he said something that just was astonishing to me. And of course, I've lost it now. Yeah. Can I not find it the one time I actually need it? Maybe I can't. Okay. Oh, here we go. There we go. Sorry for the delay. Look at number 23. By statute, the Oklahoma State Department of Education is charged with promulgating academic standards. These standards have historically included examining the role religion and religious documents, particularly when in context of the founding of our nation. I'm going to back out of this because I don't know what he's talking about. But he basically said the Supreme Court has long recognized the secular value of religious texts, including the Bible, in school settings. Here we go. I found it. It was number 42. Let me go back here. Check this out. The Supreme Court precedent has long recognized the secular value of religious texts, including the Bible in school settings, as well as the secular value of chaplains as mentors and counselors in government-run institutions. But again, I ask you, what the hell is he talking about? Because, yeah, the Bible can be studied in a secular way, but the key word there is secular. Like reciting Bible verses over the loudspeaker at the beginning of school for the sake of indoctrination with no connection to anything in a lesson, that's what was happening at that school district. That's not okay. And yes, Christian chaplains can be useful in a secular way, but proselytizing to a football team, which is what was happening in that other Oklahoma school district, is still forbidden. So in short, Walters was just mad that the Freedom from Religion Foundation dared to defend the law when Ryan Walters' goal has always been to just tear down the law entirely to suit his own needs. And so the Oklahoma Department of Education's attorney said FFRF is interfering with Ryan Walters' duty to oversee the public schools and their duty to implement curricular standards and investigate any complaints levied against an Oklahoma school and advocate for its students and parents. And listen, you don't need to be a lawyer. I'm not a lawyer. You don't need to be one to understand how dumb all of that is, because they did not explain why religious proselytizing is legal, because they couldn't. But they were just going after FFRF for warning the schools on behalf of people who attend those schools that what they were doing is illegal. I don't know. Walters even said in his press release at the time, which is a dumb Facebook post, but I will show you this. This is how he shared it when he announced this. Oklahoma State Department of Education. Walters says, "We won't stand idly by while atheists try to erase faith." They're not trying to do that. Why are you this dumb, Ryan? Seriously, I know I made a video that said you probably were not watching adult videos while you were on the job, but seriously, we would all be better off if you just started watching adult videos while you were on the job. Anyway, so that's what he did. He filed this lawsuit. And I was kind of annoyed that when I saw articles about Ryan Walters suing FFRF, none of them really mentioned that he was full of shit. They just did exactly what he wanted, which is Ryan Walters sues atheist group. But again, you can't stop FFRF from telling districts they're breaking the law. And by the way, you can't stop FFRF from suing those districts if they are breaking the law continuously. They never had to sue because the warning letters prevented that from happening. So Walters wanted attention. The headline said he's suing an atheist group, so he got that attention, helps him build credibility with Christian nationalists. He also got in a few one-liners about, like, Oklahoma will never be bullied by radical out-of-state atheists who use intimidation and harassment against kids, which is a thing that never happened, and what the hell are you talking about? Anyway, he sued, and the question is, well, then what's a judge going to do about all that? And I will say, in May, the Freedom from Religion Foundation asked the court to throw out Ryan Walters' lawsuit. They said he had no legal standing to file it, that the federal courts had no business stepping in since no federal laws had been violated, that the lawsuit was frivolous and targeted FFRF's First Amendment rights, and that Walters wasn't even saying anything legal. He wasn't making any legal claims that the judge could even weigh in on. So even if you gave him victory, what the hell would that even look like? Like, any one of those things should have gotten the whole lawsuit dismissed. And FFRF was saying all of them are happening. And in response to that argument, Walters' office offered up 20 pages of nonsense. They said, we do have legal standing because school districts sometimes ask us to help them out. Not in those cases, but sometimes they do. They said the federal courts needed to step in because FFRF is interfering with Ryan Walters being able to run the public school system. How? No one knows. He said this is not a frivolous lawsuit because FFRF has, quote, threatened and will continue to threaten the free exercise rights of Oklahoma students and parents. How? I don't know. And he said we do have a legal claim because victory will stop FFRF's endless stream of cease and desist letters it routinely sends to Oklahoma public schools. FFRF wrote to those schools and said, hey, you're doing something illegal. Maybe you don't know it, but we're telling you why it's illegal. Let us know if you're going to stop it. And both of those districts said, oh, hey, you're right. We will stop it. And that was the end. I don't know what Ryan Walters is talking about. So why am I telling you all this now? Because recently, the judge in this case finally weighed in on the story. And I just want to point out, this is an 8-page ruling. It is super short. And what does the judge say? This is a Trump-appointed judge, John Heil III. And he basically said, and I'm paraphrasing here, Ryan Walters, what the hell are you talking about? Look at this. Look at this passage here on page 5. How does FFRF's letters interfere with your authority or ability to administer Oklahoma's public schools? In what way are you precluded from administering Oklahoma's public schools because of FFRF's letters? What have you intended to do but been unable to do because of FFRF's letters? The complaint does not answer these questions. Ryan Walters, you have not alleged that you have suffered any kind of injury. Your generalized statement of injury is nothing more than conjecture. That's a Trump judge saying, why are you wasting my time? Unbelievable. I love it. I love it almost as much as I love the last segment's judge. And then look at this near the end. Sorry, this is also page 5. Further, Ryan Walters says when school districts are accused of violating either the Oklahoma Constitution or the policies, blah, 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 it's my office's responsibility to address those accusations and do stuff. In essence, Ryan Walters concedes that addressing the type of letters it complains of in this lawsuit is part of your duties. Helping schools respond to FFRF's letters is your job. And yet, Ryan Walters, the plaintiff, says that they are harmed because each time a district receives one of these letters from FFRF, we have to spend valuable time and resources to address it. Both of these things cannot be true. Ryan Walters, you cannot be both performing your duties by addressing the letters and impeded from performing your duties by addressing the letters. I am shocked because this is the first time I have heard someone in the Trump orbit use logic properly. This is a Trump judge saying, Ryan Walters, I probably want to side with you, but you're a moron, which is just beautiful. And at the end of this, where are we now? We're on page 6 of this thing. This may be my favorite part. The court also notes that while Ryan Walters complains of defendants' continued interference with the day-to-day operation of Oklahoma's public schools, Ryan Walters only complains of two letters sent by FFRF to two Oklahoma public schools in the past seven years. Like, I don't know if you needed the 7, the 2s and the 7s in parentheses, but I feel like that's just some added sarcasm right there. Like, you are wasting my time over 2 letters that FFRF sent over a span of 7 years, and this has stopped you from doing your job, you effing snowflake. Oh my God. And at the very end of this, the judge says, clearly, you don't need me to do any of this stuff. Here we go. Plaintiffs, Ryan Walters, has failed to sufficiently demonstrate standing under the framework. Indeed, the complaint doesn't even say he stopped doing his duties or ceased administration of Oklahoma's public schools because of the letters. You're telling me you've been injured, but like, how has your life changed because of these letters? You haven't done anything, nor does your complaint allege that the schools have stopped doing anything they were supposed to do because of the letters. So what are you complaining about? I don't know how else the judge is supposed to say Ryan Walters is an idiot, but this is legalese for that. But basically, the judge says there's no injury. There's no legal injury here, which means, Ryan Walters, you have no business filing a lawsuit over it, which means there's nothing for the judge to do, which means he's going to toss the case out. And by the way, there is one other thing I want to show you in here. And this was just funny. At one point, plaintiff's complaint, Ryan Walters' complaint, also vaguely alludes that why he's injured is the chilling effect caused by the letters, right? And they say, like, people are afraid of the consequences, blah, blah, blah. Look at the footnote. Undoubtedly, Ryan Walters has expended valuable time and resources in filing this lawsuit. However, you cannot manufacture standing by inflicting harm on themselves based on their fears of hypothetical future harm. Like, you're telling me you were injured, but basically everything you pointed to justify that is stuff you made up in your own head. So I appreciated that footnote as well. So he's lying when he says any of this has gotten in the way. The judge also noted, look, if FFRF got anything wrong in their letters when they sent the letters to the schools, those school districts could have just written back and said, hey, FFRF, you're wrong. This isn't happening at our school. They could have done that, but they did not do that either because FFRF was right. So why are you complaining about it? So it's a complete takedown of this bullshit attention-getting lawsuit filed by Ryan Walters. FFRF said this week that it's just a clear-eyed ruling revealing, quote, the absurdity of the unwarranted legal attack against FFRF. And I think more broadly speaking, it's not just an embarrassment for Ryan Walters, who, by the way, I follow on Twitter, and he hasn't said anything about this judge's ruling. That's how good it was. Ryan Walters is hoping to just memory hold this and no one will see it. But it does tell you it's an indictment of Ryan Walters' priorities and his contempt for the law. Like, this was a calculated, taxpayer-funded publicity stunt aimed at trying to generate Christian nationalist outrage and demonizing people who want public schools to follow the Constitution. His case did not collapse because of, like, FFRF's brilliant lawyers, even though they have those. He lost because he never had a case to begin with. And the judge shows you there's nothing substantive about anything Ryan Walters is doing. And it shows you the dangerous willingness of a public official to weaponize the legal system against people who dare to support church-state separation. Like, this is what happens when you elect an idiot Republican to be the head of your public school system, because he's not trying to help the students. He's abusing his office to start culture war battles and waste public resources to fight this battle that isn't even a battle. He's making up a fight that no one invited him to. The only thing I have left to wonder is, okay, he lost the case. I doubt he's going to appeal it because it's just going to embarrass him even more, which means how much money does Ryan Walters' office have to pay FFRF for wasting everyone's time? What are FFRF's legal fees here? Because Ryan Walters is not going to pay that. The taxpayers of Oklahoma are going to be on the hook for that. I don't know how much that's going to be. We'll find out soon enough. All right, I'll stop there. What else we got here? Awesome. I'm radical. We are all radical. We're all radical atheists over here. Why are we radical atheists? Because we are atheists. Did he get actual lawyers to put their name on this thing? Yes, he did. Ryan Walters filed that lawsuit, and the person who had to fight this battle was like a lawyer with the Oklahoma State Department of Education. Like, one of his actual lawyer minions had to file that complaint with the court. I mean, in a more just world, that lawyer would never find a job outside of Ryan Walters' office. If the law is on your side, if the facts are on your side, if neither is on your side, you are Ryan Walters. There you go. Ryan Walters had neither. Doesn't have the law, doesn't have the facts. Are the schools still trying to get Trump Bibles? Interestingly enough, Ryan Walters seems to have given up on that one. I haven't heard anything about his attempt to get Bibles into public schools in several months now. I think he did personally. I don't know where he got the money from, probably his office budget. He did try to send hundreds of them to like AP government classes. I have yet to hear of a single teacher actually using it. But right now, I think he's like, oh, this isn't getting me anywhere. All right, I'll try something else to get attention. And then the whole adult videos in his office thing happened, and he's kind of been quiet ever since. But his latest thing that he's in the news for, that he's pumping up every day, is that Oklahoma, which is ranked 50th in the nation for education on a lot of metrics, or like 48 or 49 in other ones, he just instituted a new test they got to take. If you're a teacher and you want to teach in Oklahoma, you have to pass a test that was made by PragerU, which is like a right-wing propaganda group that tests whether you are not woke. So like the questions on the test are like, how many genders are there? And if you say anything other than 2, suggesting that there's a spectrum or that trans people exist, you don't get to teach in Oklahoma because you're too woke. Oklahoma, which by the way has a teaching shortage and can't find any teachers anyway.